All right, so I thought I'd go ahead and do a little bit of an aquaponics update. It's been about a month since my last video, and if you guys want to see a little bit more details in the setups of these and what I've done so far, you can go ahead and check out that previous video. All right, so when I last left off, we had everything put together, and I had just a couple little sprouts here. As you can see, everything has really taken off with growth and has been growing really well. I did see some deficiencies early on, but I think that I've gotten most of those tackled. I think I might be seeing a little bit of deficiencies here and there, and I'll go over that a little bit later. So as you can see, the basil has grown quite a bit. This one more so than this other purple basil back here. I added a couple plants as well. I added a little carrot sprout that was here growing in my backyard, and I put that in. It's been doing great. Also added a couple more herbs. These ones I just added probably about 4 or 5 days ago. And so we'll see how those go. I put a little seed from a pepper in here, and that sprouted and it has been growing. I also am just now seeing a little growth here, so I have no idea what that is. I guess we'll wait and see what that is as well. So for the most part, everything has been doing really well. This morning glory here has produced lots and lots of leaves and has shot out growths in all sorts of different directions. So you can see this one's climbing up the cord here. I'm hoping it doesn't give up and it makes it up there. This one I've been slowly guiding over to here, and I'm going to meet it up with these. Okay, so some of the things I was unsure about in the last video were nutrients and nutrient supplementation and pH. So I've learned just a little bit more about both of those. I have very hard water here, and so my pH comes out at about 9. I don't have the money to get an RO filter, which sounds like the right thing to do. I just want to go ahead and warn people who are getting into aquaponics, you need to have a plan for your pH, because if your pH is not right, everything else isn't going to function correctly. So I've added a couple nutrients in the tank. As you can see right now, the tanks are completely red, and now what that is from is a form of chelated iron. Let me pull out some of the things that I've added in here. Okay, magnesium and iron. So there's a couple things that you need to supplement with aquaponics, and they're just not going to be enough available in the tank. One of the most common ones is iron. Now, you can't use just regular iron from rust. You can't put like a rusty nailer or anything in there because the iron will just settle and it won't stay dissolved in the water. So you need to use chelated iron. There's 3 different types of chelated iron, and each of them works at different pH levels. The iron that I have right here is EDDHA chelated iron. And so now this iron I got specifically because I have high pH in this water, and this iron works at high pH. The only issue with this is that it turns all of the water red, and so it was even more red than this. A couple weeks ago it was like a dark red, and slowly as the plants have absorbed it and as I've added more water to the system, it's brightened up just a little bit. So that's what I've been using for my iron supplementation because I have high pH still and I haven't been able to lower my pH. Now for potassium, I've been using this kelp extract from Kelp for Less. It's rated at 0,010, and this is just one of the ways I was able to find to supplement potassium. And then also I've been supplementing a tiny bit of Epsom salt. This I got at Walmart for literally $1, and it's just plain Epsom salt. So that's a good source of magnesium. Now these right here, the iron, the kelp extract, and magnesium have been the main supplements. And then I've added just a tiny bit of boron in there from borax soap. So just the tiniest little pinch of borax soap. Now I'm not exactly sure on the dosages of these for the system that I've set up. So I've been kind of guessing and just adding small amounts. This, I believe I added a teaspoon of iron, which looked visibly like way too much when I did the calculations. That's what it came out to about. But I think next time I dose this, I'm only going to do a half a teaspoon. I did just a little pinch of this, and I believe I did about 1/4 teaspoon of this. Now, I wasn't quite sure on the dosage for this as well, so I've just been kind of guessing, and luckily it's been working out, and I've been getting good plant growth. So going back to pH, I've been really struggling with trying to figure out how to lower my pH and have it stay down. Now, a lot of people have said that your pH will go down over time through the nitrification process, and that will release more acid into your system and lower your pH. I've not had this effect yet. Maybe it has, but it's been pretty mild. And it may have something to do with just that my water is just so hard here. But let me show you the approach that I've been taking to try to lower pH. There's a bunch of different ways you can do it. The best one would be to get an RO filter so you can have a pH neutral water and water with low hardness. And that's definitely, it sounds like the best way to go. From there, you can add a couple different types of acids, and these acids should lower the pH of your water. Now you can do, I think there's muriatic acid, there's phosphoric acid. I didn't really want to go the acid route, and I might end up having to. Let me show you what I've tried to do. So in the aquarium hobby, some people use these right here, which are they're called catappa leaves. They're Indian almond leaves. And if you put these in your aquarium, they're supposed to slowly break down and release tannins into your water, release tannic acid. And this tannic acid should lower the pH of the aquarium. And there's apparently a lot of other benefits that this can have for your fish as well. So I wasn't sure if these were going to lower my pH because I've read some things online saying that if you have really hard water, it's not going to affect your pH very much. I did find that this will lower my pH. I put about 10 of these leaves in a 5-gallon bucket here. And I would say within about a week, maybe even less than that, the pH went from 9 down to 7, and it stays around 7. It's been staying around 6.87, which is awesome, and that's where I would like to get my pH down to. So I did that test, and I was like, awesome, sweet, this is gonna lower my pH. And then I went ahead and put a bunch of leaves in here in my sump tank for this system. I believe I put about 20 leaves in here, and I think I put 5 up here in the actual aquarium. And for this setup, I put 10 leaves in. And I've been topping off my water with that. So in both of these tanks, I have still been having high pH. As you can see here, it's the dark blue. So it's at least above 7.6, and this is actually a reading from this tank. So I was a bit confused what's going on. Why isn't my pH lowering still? And I came to the realization that it was most likely some rocks that I have in my aquarium that I never tested, and they're probably leaching carbonates into the water and making my water hard and keeping my pH high. So going off of that theory, it seemed like that was really the only thing that made sense for why my pH was staying high. I decided to test that out with this tank, and I took out all of the rocks and completely cleaned it out and reset it up. So all that's in here is some fish, some shrimp, and the Indian almond leaves. Now, 5 days later, I've continued to test this, and this was also filled with that water, that pH of 7 water. About half of it was, and the rest with the old water. And still the pH on this remains high. So I'm not sure, I feel kind of stuck at this point as to why my pH would still be high now that I know the Indian almond leaves consistently lower the pH in that bucket. So something in here is keeping my pH high, and I'm not exactly sure what it is. I'm going to continue to check it over the next couple days, and hopefully if this lowers my pH, then I will know, okay, yep, I have rocks in here that are leaching carbonates, and I'll have to reset up this whole tank, take everything out and put a different substrate in the bottom that won't be leaching carbonates. So if any of you guys have any clues of what could be keeping my water hard, I would really appreciate that, or other tips on lowering pH. I'll give you guys a little update on this setup that I have here. So I had 3 plants in here. I had the strawberry plant, the marshmallow plant, and the morning glory, the viney plant. And the morning glory, they've all been doing surprisingly well. The morning glory, I had connected to a string here that climbed up and actually climbed behind this poster and started popping out. But when I cleaned it, I accidentally broke that, and so I took the whole morning glory out. This plant has been growing really well, but as you can see, it's really wild and mangled over. It's because it was growing all the way over here, and I had a stick in here as well. And I grabbed everything and pulled it behind this stick because the leaves were just burning themselves in this hot light. So this plant is doing all right. It's totally just mangled up and random growth everywhere though. So I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with that. The strawberry plant has been doing pretty good. I've actually gotten a couple little flowers off of it, but they all seem to die. Now these leaves tend to get in the light here and start burning themselves. I'm still having deficiencies with the strawberry plant, as you can see here, and yep, another dead leaf right here. So I'm continuing to have deficiencies with the strawberry plants. I'm not exactly sure what the deficiencies are. In this tank, it's less obvious that there's any deficiencies. Because as you can see, the basil and everything has been growing well, and all the leaves look well and don't show any signs of deficiencies. With this morning glory plant here, I've actually had some flowers come out, and the flowers are really beautiful, but within the day I noticed they died. Whereas usually they would close and open and they'd be alive for a while. They've just been dying. So I'm not sure if that's a nutrient deficiency or if that's because I don't have enough light, or what really is the problem with that. As you can see here, the radish is growing in. So I'm actually going to get an edible radish here, and maybe a carrot as well. Also, I showed you guys the little setup I have in here without the bell siphon, and that's been continuing to work well. Though I don't know how well you can see, there's a lot of algae all along the side there, which doesn't bother me too much. But if you're gonna do a little lid setup like this, just be aware that the light is going to get through there. So you might want to paint this or cover this somehow if you're worried about algae. As for this overflow here, this has been holding up nicely, though I've had a couple little scares or things that have had me worried a little bit, as sometimes the water level will just get a little bit high and I'm worried that it's going to overflow. But so far, nothing has happened yet and it's continued to work. I'll go down and clean the net there every couple days or so. As for this red color here, it really, it doesn't look nearly as nice as it used to. And I've kind of sacrificed having a decent looking tank for growing these plants over here. So I'm really hoping that I can figure out how to get my pH lower and stay consistently lower. And then from there, I can use a different form of chelated iron that isn't going to cause my water to turn this blood red. So that's just about it. If you guys have anything to add or any advice to help me out or any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll help you out where I can. All right, thank you very much. Bye.